Hi, everyone, and welcome to your practice today. My name's Polly, and today we'll be moving through a variety of forward folds. To forward bend, we'll want to open our hips and, of course, our hamstrings. Forward bending can be beneficial, obviously, to keeping your spine healthy, flexible, and strong, but it also can help aid digestion, can help reduce fatigue and anxiety, and calm the nerves. So let's get started. Please take a seat. Oh, and by the way, have a couple blocks and a blanket close by. And we'll start in Sukhasana, an easy seat. Right foot or right ankle crossed in front of left. Close down the eyes or maintain a soft gaze. Hands can rest on the knees. Take a full breath in. And exhale. Feel grounded through the sitting bones. Let's do one more of those. Inhale, fill the belly and chest. And exhale, let the air go. Nice. Lightly flutter your eyes open and begin to walk your hands forward in Sukhasana. Just a nice, gentle hip opener, especially on the right side. Lower chin to the chest. Full breath in and full breath out. Walk the hands back in now. Set them to either side of your hips. Pick up your hips. Oops, set them down. Shake out the legs. And we'll take Sukhasana, second side, left ankle or foot crossed in front of right. Pick up the sitting bones and set them back down. Walk your fingertips forward. Lower the chin. Take a round of breath. Nice. Walk the hands in now. Little easy Dandasana, feet out in front. Shake out the hips. And meet me at a standing forward fold in front of your mat. We can set the blanket to the side for now. So at the front of your mat, we're in Utkatasana, standing forward bend. Your fingertips are resting lightly on the mat, or if that's too much for tight hamstrings, bring the blocks into play. And there's 3 levels to the blocks: low, medium, and high. So bring the earth to you where you need. They're super high tech in that way. Okay, so I'm going to set the blocks here. Now, notice in your forward bend that your weight slightly forward, most likely, into the toe side of the feet, so that ankles, knees, and hips are stacked. Yeah. And you want to have fairly straight legs here in order to get the stretch in the hamstring. That's where the blocks come into play. If your legs are bent, try placing hands under blocks to make them more straight. And notice here, first and foremost, that we want the stretch to be coming from the belly of the muscles of the back of the leg, the hamstrings, not the ligaments behind the knee. So if you're feeling it too much behind the knee, you may be hyperextending. I tend to do that. And so take a maker bend in your knees and see if that changes anything. From here, take hands to either side of the calves and press in slightly, like about 5 pounds of pressure. This is called shins in. And you don't want to press so hard that your knees knock in. The knees resist out. Notice if you feel any more muscular tone with the shins moving in. Now, at the same time, keep the shins moving in and notice that the thighs move back and apart. So thighs in, back, and apart, sitting bones spread. These are key actions in all of our forward bends. So keeping the shins moving in, thighs moving back and apart, place the hands back down on the mat or the blocks. Keeping those actions, inhale, halfway lift, side hands to shins so you can have a flat back. And then exhale to fold in. One more. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, hands to the mat. Step it back, downward facing dog. And I'll encourage you today to take a long stance. So walk your feet back. Have a slight bend in your knees here. And weight shifts slightly forward into the hands. Press down through the hands. And then draw the energy up from the hands into the heart. And from the heart, lift the sitting bones. So there's an arch in the lumbar curve. You can also maintain an arch by drawing the inner thighs in and back. Nice. Now keeping that lift in the sitting bones and the arch in the lower back, lower one heel towards the mat and then the other, and extend and expand. Lower ribs soften in. And on your next inhale, step the right foot between the hands. Lower the left knee, option to pad with the mat or your blanket, and bring your blanket, your blocks underneath your shoulders. Press your hands into the blocks and straighten the right leg. Flex the right toes, so blocks move under shoulders. And find a halfway lift here. So moving into Arda Hanamanasana, or half splits, or runner stretch, sometimes I call it. And let's go through the actions of shins in. So muscles are engaged and toned. Right shin hugging to the midline, and the right heel and right hip are energetically drawing back. Make sure that you're not micro bending. And allow the thighs to move back as well. Inhale here, and exhale to hinge forward at the hips. Lower chin to chest as an invitation to go inward. Full breath here, full exhale. Inhale and shift forward, bring the blocks. Plant the hands, lift the back knee, and step it back, downward facing dog. Notice if you feel any different in the right side or the left. And on your next inhale, step the left foot to the hands. Lower the right knee. Again, option to pad that up. Bring the blocks into play. Shift the hips. Flex the left toes. Press into the blocks. Halfway lift. Hug to the midline with the left shin. And draw energetically the heel and the left hip back. Feel the thighs widen. Halfway lift, inhale, and exhale to fold. Inhale forward, back to low lunge, set the blocks. Come up onto your ball the left foot, or rather right foot, and on an inhale, step forward. Inhale, halfway lift, and exhale to folded. Inhale, rise up, and exhale, hands to heart. Let's add some movement. Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, exhale and fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, step back, high plank. Lower knees, chest and chin, or Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhales, cobra pose or baby cobra. And exhale, press back, downward facing dog. Take a moment to rest here. And then on your next inhale, look to the hands. Exhale, bend the knees, and step or float front of the mat. Inhale, and exhale, fold. Shins in, thighs back. Keeping that action, rise up, and exhale, hands to heart. Nice. So your Namaskar B, but with some variation. Inhale, chair pose. Send the groins back, weights in the heels. Exhale, airplane the arms. Squeeze the upper back. muscles, shoulder blades towards one another. Lower ribs soft, core engaged. Inhale, reach the hands up. Exhale, airplane arms. Inhale, stand tall. And exhale, thighs back, chest forward, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, step it back, downward facing dog. Inhale, forward to high plank. And exhale, knees, chest, chin, or Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, cobra pose. And exhale to downward facing dog. Next, inhale, step the right foot between the hands and come on up, hands to hips. Energetically draw your legs towards the midline. This is hugging the shins in. And then take your arms behind you, airplane arms, as you hinge forward 45 degrees in the upper body. From here, keeping the action of the shins moving in, lift the hips. Notice the sitting bones widen. Now, keeping that action, sweep the hands high, high crescent lunge. Nice. Bend more deeply in the right knee. Inhale here. Exhale, sweep the right arm behind you for an open arm twist. Palms open to the right. Nice. Super strong in the lower body. Nothing changes. Inhale, high crescent lunge. And exhale, hands to the mat. Step back, downward facing dog. Doing great. Inhale, step the left foot between the hands. Make sure your feet are hip width or slightly wider to maintain balance and stability. Energetically draw to the midline. Tone the muscles of the lower body. And now on an inhale, come on up, hands to hips. Reach the arms back behind you, airplane arms. Lower ribs hug in. Hips lift up and back. It's almost like you're about to take flight. Keeping that, get vertical. Reach the hands high. Inhale here. Exhale, open arm twist to the left. Really nice. Inhale, reach the hands high. And exhale, hands to the mat. Vinyasa. Look forward as you lower. Knees, chest, chin, or Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale to cobra. And exhale, down dog. Take a break here. And then on your next inhale, look to the hands. And exhale, bend the knees, step forward. Halfway lift, in breath. And exhale to fold. Inhale, Utkatasana, chair pose. And exhale to stand tall, hands to heart center. Well done. Next pose is called Utkatasana. So for this pose, you'll separate your feet wider than hip width, so almost as wide as the mat. Let's take a look at what the lower body's doing. You'll bend the knees, hollow the groins, send the thighs back. Weights way back in the heels. And it's almost like you're rocking back, like on a rocking horse or something. You're trying to straighten your legs, but you can't because you're like seated back so far. So if you're feeling it in the quads, you want to take it out of the quads and lean back more. It's not a squat, right? In the upper body, we're lifting the chest. Yeah. So hopefully you're starting to feel this in the lower back, the glutes, and the hamstrings. Exhale and airplane the arms. Keep the chest lifted, thighs moving back. Inhale and exhale. About 3 more times here. Airplane the arms. And this pose is doing a couple things. One, it helps to strengthen the muscles of the posterior chain. We work so much at stretching them in yoga. And 2, hold here, hands lifted. It's teaching us to energetically, not energetically, but tone the muscles of the lower body and keep the thighs moving back. Well done, everybody. Stand tall and shake it out. So real quick, you don't have to go here. I'll just show you. We're moving towards Utkatasana, seated forward fold. And you can actually find Utkatasana in this pose. So I send my shins moving in, toning the legs, and I send the thighs back. Arching the lower back, super strong now. Yeah, and so we'll get there. Meet me in downward facing dog. On an inhale, step the right foot between the hands and lower the back foot as if you're going into warrior two, but don't go there quite yet. Walk your hands off to the left for down dog lunge. So hands are at a 45-degree angle. Send the thighs back and apart. And maybe you can get a little traction in your spine here. Now nothing changes in the legs. Walk the hands in towards your torso. Take the left hand to your hip. Use that as a reminder to keep the left thigh moving back. And then begin to straighten the right leg, moving to triangle pose, Chikonasana. Yeah. Take care not to hyperextend. You might keep a micro bend in that front knee. And then walk the right hand to the outside of the right foot. Keep the left thigh moving back. And against that resistance, draw the right butt under, belly and chest turn up to the sky, left hand lifts. Now, if you can't quite get the right leg straight, you can use a block to bring the earth to you, right? Or if you can't quite reach the mat, try sliding your foot a little bit wider. See if that changes anything. Again, you want to be feeling the stretch in the hamstrings of the right leg. Rebend the knee and touch down, step back, downward facing dog. Let's do that on the other side. Inhale, step the left foot between the hands, dial the right foot down, warrior two foot pattern. Tone the legs, and then walk the hands off to the right for down dog lunge. Lower the chin, soften the lower ribs, lean the hips back. And we'll sneak up here on triangle pose. Walk both hands to the inside of the left foot. Right hand to right hip, keep the right thigh moving back. Begin to straighten the left leg, and then take the left hand to the outside of the left foot or a block. Right thigh continues to move back, left butt dials under, turn the belly and chest up to the right, stretch the right hand high. Think about dragging the left heel back and the right foot forward. So you're hugging in. Notice if that changes the stretch for you at all. I know it helps make it more intense for me. And then rebend the front knee, square the hips, step back, high plank, and lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, cobra pose, and exhale to downward facing dog. Let's add a little flow here. On your next inhale, lift the right leg for down dog split. Exhale, knee to nose, and step through to low lunge. Back heel dials down. This time, come on up, warrior two. Inhale to reverse warrior. Exhale right into triangle pose, Chikonasana. Stay for your in-breath. And then exhale, draw the left hand in front of the body and across. Turn the right toes in, hands come below shoulders. Inhale, halfway lift here in wide-legged forward fold. Exhale, turn the left toes out, bend the left knee. Side lunge. Think down dog lunge here. Thighs move back, groins hollow. Inhale back through center. And exhale, turn the right toes out, bend the right knee. Send the thighs back. Nice. Quarter turn over the right shoulder and step back to downward facing dog. Let's do that again on the second side. Inhale, left leg lifts. Hug to the midline. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, or rather step the foot forward and inhale to Vira-2. Pause, settle in on the exhale. Inhale to reverse. Exhale right into triangle pose. Left hand down, right hand lifts. Inhale here. And then exhale, sweep the right hand down. Turn the left toes in, hands below shoulders. Inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale and forward fold. So before we forward fold at the hips, think about drawing the shins in and moving the thighs back, just like we did in our standing forward fold at the front of the mat. Now, hinging forward at the hips, keeping a nice flat back, fold in. Option for hands are to keep them below the shoulders, take fingers to big toes, or to the outside of the feet or shins. Of course, using blocks under your hands works great here as well. Lower ribs are soft. Sitting bones lift and widen. Let's go about 3 more rounds of breath here. One of my favorite forward folds, it's also an inversion. So in its own sense, it can help energize you, reduce fatigue, reduce stress of the day. Nice inhale here. And then press into the mat. Walk your hands below the shoulders, pause, halfway lift. And then turn over the left shoulder. Option for a vinyasa here. We'll all meet in downward facing dog. Now walk halfway up your mat and come to seated for bow pose. Everyone's favorite forward fold. It actually is a forward fold. It also helps with core engagement and to strengthen our hip flexors. So let's do it this way. Take your hands behind your thighs, lift one leg 90 degrees and then the other. So shins are parallel with the mat and hugging in towards one another. Lift through the sternum, lift through the chest, and avoid like the tech neck scenario, like you're trying to look towards your computer screen and draw the throat back. Yeah, it feels better. From here, straighten the right leg, spread the toes, and then rebend. Straighten the left leg, spread the toes, and rebend. Do it again, straighten, straighten. Take one hand out and then the other. Option to stay here or rebend. 2 more rounds of breath here. You got this. Nice. Now rock forward. Wrap forearms around your shins and hug it in. Take hands on either side of your hips. Pick them up. Plop them down. One more. Lean back so you're on your sitting bones. Lift one leg, spread the toes. Lift the other, spread the toes. Lift one, or stay straighten one arm and then the other. Stay here or come with me to half boat, full boat with knees bent. You're welcome to straighten. Let's go 2 more. Exhale. Inhale to lift. Last one. Hold for 3, 2, and 1. Lift the knees. Set it down. Wrap the forearms around the shin. Good job, everybody. We're going to move to Sphinx pose. You can either just roll forward or take a few spinal rocks. Ooh, that felt good. Got a little crack there, a little release. You come to lying on your belly, elbows below shoulders, Forearms make number 11. Draw the elbows back towards the hips, chest moves through the bicep. Cross the left forearm across the body, about 45 degrees. Bend the right knee, reach back with the right hand, catch the foot. Coming in for a thigh stretch here. And release and switch it out. Right forearm across the body, left hand to left foot. I love this stretch. I do it almost every day to counter the sitting I do in my daily activities at the computer or driving. Nice. Hands below shoulders. Press up all fours to downward facing dog. Option to take a vinyasa here or just catch your breath. And then step halfway up your mat and come down seated. For seated forward fold or Paschimottanasana. Now, if you know your hips and hamstrings are still really tight, go ahead and grab your blanket or 2 or 3 and sit up on it. Yeah, I think I'm going to stay up here today. All right, so for Paschimottanasana, we want to think engaged muscles in the legs, in the quads and calves. You can maintain that by flexing toes to nose and also shins in, right? So think about drawing shins into the midline. Keeping that, place your hands on either side of the hips. Pick them up and send the inner thighs in, back, and apart. Think Utkatasana. So you really want to have that nice lumbar curve in your lower back. From here, reach the hands high. Lower ribs draw in, soften. Core is engaged as you begin to hinge at the hips. Bring hands down just on either side of the knees. So it's like a half Paschimottanasana. Throats back, no tech neck. Yep. Now stay here. If you're feeling it in the hamstrings, this is perfect for you. You can try dragging the heels back energetically too, if you're not quite feeling it. You may also try walking the hands slightly forward. Now do this as long as the flexing is coming from the hips and not the spine. So as soon as you get rounded in the spine and lose the curve in the lower back, you want to come out of the pose a little bit. So I'm going to re-engage here. Think Utkatasana, shins in, thighs back, and I walk my hands forward. I'll encourage you here to lower chin to chest, maybe even close down the eyes. Be here for about 4 rounds of breath. And draw navel to spine, lower ribs are soft. See if that may deepen the fold for you. Nice, slowly come back to seated. And then shift the hips forward. If you have a blanket, you can set that to the side. Take hands behind your thighs and roll back for a happy baby counter stretch. Either peace fingers to big toes or reach for the outer inner feet. Some rocking might feel good here. Nice. And then take hands behind the thighs once again and rock back up to seated. One more forward fold. Chikonasana. So take your feet wide. Option to sit up on a blanket if you're losing the curve in the lumbar spine. We don't want anything like this. Rather, we want to sit up nice and straight. Toes flex in. It's almost like you're pressing the gas pedal out with your feet. Engage the muscles of the legs. Take hands on either side of the hips. Lift them up, send them back. Plop it down. Nice. Now you may be feeling it right here. Or you may want to grab your blocs and try coming onto your forearms. This is enough for me. If your hips are really flexible and have really open hamstrings, you may even begin to walk the hands out further. Wherever you are, it's perfect. Lower chin to chest. One thing I find so soothing about forward bends is the inward quality, the chance to be introspective, even if it's just for a few moments on our mat each day. Introspection and self-reflection is where we can grow, where we can maybe be a bit more productivity throughout the rest of the day. A bit more productive, I should say. Okay, walk the hands in, come on up, set the blocks to the side if you're using them. Kick hands behind the knees, lift them up, and close them in like a book. Nice. Come back to, actually, let's go back to Utkatasana, seated forward fold. Right foot in front of left. We'll take an easy twist here. Take the right hand behind, left hand to right knee. Inhale and lift through the crown of the head. And then exhale and twist over the right shoulder. And come back to center. Left hand, left fingertip is down, right hand to left knee. Inhale, get tall. And exhale to turn over the left shoulder. Nice. Come back through center. Now shift the weight forward so you have space to lie down. Bring a block with you and come to lying on your back. Knees face up, soles of the feet on the mat, hip width distance apart. For supported bridge, lift the hips and slide the block underneath, and also just low or medium height. The block just goes right at the base of the spine, low or medium. And then from here, draw one knee in and straighten it, and then the other and straighten it for variation on legs up the wall. Stay here, begin to lower the right leg so the heel reaches the mat. This is why we wanted the lower medium height. And if it feels okay, lower the left foot down as well. And the heels may come as wide as the mat. This is a counter stretch for the hip flexors. Extending, expanding. Take a full breath here. And full breath out. And then bend one knee to the chest and then the other. Set both feet on the mat. And to come out of this, press your soles of the feet into the mat, lift the hips an inch, slide the block out from underneath. Take the feet as wide as the mat now, and lower both knees to the right for a simple twist. Getting one more stretch as well through the left hip flexor, and some rotation for the lower back. Inhale back through center. Lower both knees to the left. Maintain the curve in the lumbar spine. Come back to center. Straighten one leg and then the other for brief Shavasana. If your time permits, please stay in Shavasana. If you're ready to move on, feel the lungs open wide and invite a deep breath in. And then draw one knee to the chest and then the other and roll to one side. Use the strength of your arms to press to seated. And bring hands to heart center in Anjali Mudra. May this practice invite introspection, self-awareness, and more productivity into your day. Thank you all so much for coming to practice with me in community. Namaste.